from working on the farm.
Hey guys, it's Eric, owner of Farpoint Farms here in the mountains of North Carolina, and tonight I'm going to do something I swore I would probably never do. I am going to make a three-part series, and I'm going to try to explain YouTube. I've had so many comments, so many emails, so many questions over the years on, how did I make it to where I am? Should I start my own YouTube channel? And 1,000 variations on that. A lot of ones on equipment, on reaching out to companies, all these really cool, interesting questions. And I guess I've ignored all that stuff, not because I'm, just ignoring people, but because I don't really feel like I'm an expert on the topic. However, if you've noticed here recently, and by the time this video gets posted, this will have happened because I'm only about 150 away at this point of filming. I've hit 50,000 subscribers, and I actually got an email from YouTube talking about, how that's kind of a big deal. Out of the close to 1 billion channels that there are out there, I'm in the top 2% of subscribers and viewership and stuff, which is just a really weird thing when you think about it. That a guy talking to a camera in his garage for the last 5 or 6 years, I guess it's not even been that long, can move up that ladder like that. But so I'm going to try it. So tonight I'm going to talk about a couple things that you need to know. There's 4 things that I'm going to go over that you need to know if you think you want to be a YouTuber. Excuse me. And in part 2, I'm going to talk about the equipment that I use to film my stuff. And of course, I'm no videographer, but I have some moved up in equipment. But I'm not going to talk about just the stuff that I use. I'm going to talk about if you're thinking about starting a channel of your own, what kind of equipment you might need to do that effectively. So that'll be part 2. And in part 3, I'll wrap it up. I'll answer some of the questions that you leave down here in the comment section tonight. And I'll do that, but I'll also show you how I go about editing it, the software I use. And I'll also talk about how I talk with some companies and how do I generate interest, overall in Farpoint Farms. So that's what we're up against. And if you're bored, I don't blame you. Go on and move along. If you're, however, thinking about starting your own channel, then this might be some cool advice, right? As you can see behind me, I've actually started a second channel, Farpoint Restorations and Repairs, and so I'm kind of, in a little way, starting all over again, although I have an advantage. When you have a channel and you start a second channel, there's a certain core group of people that usually follow you over there, so that always helps when you're starting something up. But let's talk about starting your own channel. So you've decided you want to be a YouTuber in 2022, right? Or whatever year it is you finally get around to watching this video. Good for you. You can do it. And I'm going to give you some advice on the things you probably should do right off the bat. The first is this. Think about what it is you want to make a channel about. If you've noticed, my channel is very unique in the sense that I am a variety channel. And there aren't many of them that are successful. And honestly, I don't know why mine is. Because algorithmically, I keep shooting myself in the foot. Channels usually do well if you pick a topic and you focus on that topic. You could be a topic about, carving with knives. It could be a topic about building teepees. It could be a topic about building garages or restoring cars or radio stuff like I love to play with, or vintage computers or whatever it is. Usually YouTubers focus on a topic. And so that's the first thing, is if you want to be a YouTuber, it's probably not a bad idea to follow that tried and true method and pick a topic that you like and hammer away at it. In my case, I started this channel as a homesteader, and because a homesteader, well, I'm not trying to talk down to any other homesteading channels, but it seems like homesteading channels mostly focus on prepping or survivalism or whatever. A real homesteader is just somebody who does it all himself. A jack of all trades, there's a lot of different phrases for it, but when I started this channel, I was like, hey, when I'm doing repairs or building projects or gardening or farming or whatever it is I'm doing here, I'm just going to bring a camera along. I'm going to bring the people of the universe along with me to watch and learn. And so that was my thing. That's what I decided to do, because to be honest with you, I hadn't really watched a ton of YouTube. I'd watched some repair videos over the years, but I hadn't really followed a channel. I hadn't got into a close relationship with a personality on YouTube, so I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. But I put out a couple videos repairing tractors. I talked about my hobby here, CB radio. I demonstrated some tool reviews, and I did a couple other things. And And so there was no one topic. And for some reason, it works for me. I can't guarantee it'll work for you. You're certainly welcome to try it, but that's one thing that I want you to think about. So the first thing I want you to talk about is if you're interested in making your own channel, you probably need to have focus. So go ahead and find whatever it is, and perhaps your focus will be like mine. I know there are several other YouTubers out there that I follow now that are kind of like me, and the one that comes to mind most in my head right now is 741. If you haven't followed his channel, you should. Mostly a radio guy, mostly ham and CB stuff, but he also shows how to fix his motorcycle, and he also does like reviews of camping products and shed building and stuff like that. So in a lot of ways, he has his main passion, but then he also wants to bring you along for the ride. And so it's working pretty strong for him too. So there are people out there that can get away with that. But algorithmically, if we're looking at YouTube's AI, it struggles to figure out who to put those videos in front of, and so your channel may suffer slightly because of that. Number two, okay, so you have decided you're going to make a channel. The second thing I want you to be aware of is it takes time, okay? A lot of people don't look at this as a business when they walk into it. They think, wow, just throw a camera up and make some videos. And it's true. You can just throw a camera up and make videos. If you're going to be a blogger, then literally you need no setup. You just need an idea, a topic that you want to talk about, and you're going to sit in front of a camera and do that. I can tell you that not a lot of bloggers make it far in YouTube. We all have the ones that we follow that have made it, and they're great. But how often do you come across somebody with a very small channel who makes it, gets filtered to the top, even shows up in a search? It just doesn't happen all that often. So you really, if you're going to make a channel, I'm not trying to discourage you from being just a general blogger. Think about, I follow Prepper Nurse 1. That guy's got it made in the shade, man. The guy just literally, makes 2 or 3 videos wandering around his property and talks about current events, and it works for him. And I watch it, and he's great, and I like it. It's fun. But there's probably 100,000 or so just here in the United States that I've never heard of that probably have cool stuff to say just like him, but it just never gets pushed my direction. I just never find the content. So I think it's a lot harder to build your channel up if that's the direction you're going to go. So just be aware of that. But unless you're going to do that, so if you're not going to do that, you got to have a lot of prep work. So if I'm going to make a video about a product, well, I need to know about that product. If I'm going to make a repair video, it's very time consuming to do that kind of thing. And this actually stops a lot of people right out of the gate. So they go and they buy a lot of equipment, which I don't recommend, to be honest with you, right off the bat. But they're like, I'm gonna be a car repair channel, right? And so they buy a nice camera, they buy everything they think they need, a good mic, which after all these years I still don't have, and they get out there and they go to do a brake job or something like that. And what they find is it is extremely frustrating. You're doing something you may know how to do, and you've got this camera all of a sudden. So you're trying to describe it to somebody, and you got to make sure that the light is right and that the camera is right and that everything lines up. So you keep having to stop and move and do this and do that. And it's all these things that even though you've done the job 50 times, now you've got this added effort in there, and it just really messes with a lot of people. And I know of 2 people in my own life that started and stopped channels twice and never started them a third time because of that issue. They were interested in starting a channel. They wanted to share the knowledge they had, but when they got right into how difficult it was to actually be the cameraman and do the work, they got frustrated and they quit. So be advised that a job that might take 30 minutes here on the farm, if I'm going to film it, it's definitely going to take an hour. And if it's a complicated job, it might take 2, sometimes 3 times as long as it would if there was no camera. And I can tell you without a doubt there are at least 50 videos that are in the trash can over the years because I started doing something. It became so complex that I was like, I'm done with this. So turn the camera off, and that's the end of it. So that's something to be aware of there too. So a lot of time. Then when you add in the fact that you're going to be answering emails, answering comments, you have to promote your videos sometimes on other channels. You have to reach out to companies to see if they want to work with you. You have to edit these videos and post these videos, and it's a lot of work. It doesn't start off that way. It's a trick. It starts off with just a lot of work of filming and editing and posting. But then as you start to make some acquaintances online, it becomes even more work. And then as the comments roll in on more popular videos, you can find yourself really behind trying to keep up with everything that's going on. And so a lot of hours involved in it. So just be aware of that. If you're aware of that, let's move on to number 3. And number 3 is this. It's a job. Okay, it's a job. And so if you've never worked for yourself, if you've never run a business, if you've never been the manager of anything, you might not make it. You might not make it. I hate to say it. I hate to be the guy. But I've run a couple businesses in my life, and some have been very successful and some have been not successful at all. The older I get, the more successful my businesses are. And the reason for that is there is no quit, is what my drill sergeant used to tell me. And he was right. Every time you stop, every time you give up on something and walk away from it, you've failed, you have lost. So when you get into this, if I have something I need to take care of this weekend, and for whatever reason I just decide I'm not going to show up to work, I'm not going to film that video. Well, that means I don't have a product to edit, and that's another day that I'm not doing anything. And then if I don't do that, well, then I don't have anything to post, and then I don't have anything on my channel. So that's not new revenue, not new customers, not new eyeballs on my product. So it's a business. And then if you've ever been self-employed and you've done well for yourself, well, great. But if you have ever, if you're not going to be a good manager for your own time and your own self, then you're probably not going to make it very long. And if you're a terrible employee, if you fail to show up for your own job, well, then you're not going to make it very long. So it's something to keep in mind. I run, This is my 3rd job, and it's probably 20 to 25 hours a week right now. So it's a big deal for me. I work 40 hours in town. I work 20 hours, doing car repair, and I'm working 20 to 25 hours here. I don't know if you can do simple math there, but that's a lot of hours. I'm kind of beat, and I've still got the farm that I deal with here, and all the stuff that is related to homesteading that you don't see, all the stuff I don't film. So you got to be one of those, type A personalities in the sense that you got to be a go-getter. You got to be driven. If you're not, perhaps this isn't the life for you. And just look back through my videos. I'm posting, 2 to 4 videos a week here on this channel. A month and a half ago or 2 months ago, probably by the time this rolls out, I've got a second channel that I've started. It's at right around 700 subscribers, and I'm putting 2 videos up a week there. That's a lot of content to create, to edit, to post, and then to keep up with the comments and replies and all that stuff, and to make sure that everybody's happy on all ends. So that's the 3rd thing I'm going to tell you about becoming a YouTuber, and probably the biggest hurdle that if you can get past, you'll do fine. And lastly, and this kind of ties in with 3, but it's also its own animal. Keep at it. Don't quit. So many YouTubers start. They put out a video or 2 and they get 2 or 3 views. They get discouraged and they walk away. That's normal. Your first 50 videos might not get any views. They might not get hardly any views. If you can get 50 views out of your 25th video, then you're doing all right. Okay, you're doing pretty darn good. Seriously. I think we look at other YouTubers and we look at the videos and we're like, oh my gosh, this guy's got 20,000 views on this video. Yeah, but if you go back in time, there's probably several in the categories that had 100 or 150 or none. There's videos that were out there that got none. I know I made a video. I think I've been YouTubing for about a year, maybe a year and a half. I put a video out on a repair, and it got 102 views in the last 7 years. So obviously, no one wanted to see that content, and who would have known? I thought it was a good video, but apparently no one else did. So ignore those numbers, ignore the analytics, ignore all that stuff, and just continue to put out content on a regular basis. Apparently the algorithm here at YouTube does like you to put out a video. If you're going to do it on a Wednesday, you're going to do it on every Wednesday. If you're going to do one on a Saturday, you do it on every Saturday. And so your customer base, your viewers, they're going to see that. They're going to come back. They're going to look forward to Saturday. They're going to look forward to Wednesday. And so that kind of helps build your audience. Another thing that helps build audiences is getting to know people. If you look at my comment section, most of the people, almost everybody's pleasant because I've talked with all these people. Some of these people I've gone and met. I've had dinner with several people at this point and gone out to public events with several others. You get to know if you find someone and they're nice enough to watch your video and comment on it, get to know them. Comment back. Tell them thank you. it doesn't hurt to be courteous in any job, right? If I'm working here at the shop and I have a customer come in for, some work on their car, of course I'm gonna be courteous to them when they leave, so they come back. Do the same thing online. So that's it. Those are your 4 things, right? So, I'm not an expert on this, but at 50,000 subscribers, I guess I'm starting to be an authority on this sort of stuff, which is a little sad to think, but it's apparently true. So there it is. That's the end of part 1. In part 2, like I said, we'll get into all the equipment. And I don't want you to run out and go buy a 4K camera and, a sound studio and, all that stuff. I will tell you my story of how I slowly built up to the equipment that I use now. And I'll talk about maybe my recommendations on if I were going to do it all over again, how I would go about doing it. And then lastly, in part 3, I'll answer your questions in the first 2 videos. And I will also show you how I actually go about editing videos and contacting companies and so on and so forth. And I think it's kind of funny in my own head that I'm going to show you how to edit a video because I have limited skills. Even after all these years, I pretty much can cut and paste and just get it out and get it done. I'm a one and done kind of guy when it comes to video editing. That'll do it for tonight, my friends. And thank you. Thank you to all the fans of Farpoint. Thank you to all the fans of Farpoint Restorations. And thank you to the 50,000 subscribers that have helped me go from, doing this as a let me put my little toe in the water and see what happens, and blowing it up into such a huge thing, a big part of my life, and happily some income. I mean, this really helps the farm. It helps me. It helps my wife, and we appreciate that. So thank you all. Take care.